CAPTCHA is now way too complicated for humans. I keep failing it, and yet AI can be trained to win it now, to defeat it.
Scott Jones is the VP of Product at Realeyes, the pioneering vision AI company, where he's building revolutionary platform technology for human measurement of attention, emotion, and identity. Scott is a patent-holding product leader who built a mid-seven-figure ARR identity solution business from 0 to 1 in just 18 months. And he's also a Dream Cymbals artist who's been perfecting his craft as a professional drummer for over 30 years.
We have what's been validated by big tech companies of customers we work with. It's been validated as the largest ethically sourced in the wild collection of faces. It covers several million identities from more than 93 countries. It's like there's no right answers. It's your taste, it's your point of view, and it's how you kind of view the world and execute.
Hello and welcome to The Executive, Scott.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
It's going to be a fun conversation because I love the whole domain of identity and so on. It's very interesting. And I think we need to talk about it so people also learn about that there are these hidden companies which are doing like really brilliant work. Like I know people who don't know anything about what this industry even does, and I think it's going to be a fun discussion.
Yeah, I think I love how you said that. And I think there are companies we're aware of, especially with like the AI badge on them, where we're very aware of what they're trying to do as it relates to identity with like retinas and passports and such. But the idea of what I'm trying to do is disrupting what they're doing. So very excited to explore that space with you.
Mm-hmm. So before we dive into that, let's take a step back and define who is Scott. I give you the stage and you tell us about who is Scott.
My wife would love to hear how I describe who I am. It's always a mystery. Taking a step back, I've always had this kind of dichotomy, the left brain, right brain, if we believe that's true. I've been playing music for a long time. I kind of came out of the womb with a lot of creative energy and excitement. I from childhood, like age 4-ish. Piano, theater, dance, lots of creative stuff. No technology per se at that point, but very much into creativity and expression and like channeling ideas and seeing what I could create, for no better way to say it. When I got older, like from high school and onward, I thought I was going to be a filmmaker. I ended up, my family and I, we all went to the same college. I'm a quadruple legacy at this school. My brother was 4 years older. I saw that he was an econ major, and that served him well. So when I showed up there, I thought, well, film, sure, but how about econ as well? Let's get some balance here. And that was inspiration from him. And that's kind of, I think that was probably the moment where it got official, this left brain, right brain, again, if we believe in that's true, where for years now, I've been operating kind of on the leading edge of technology, but also pushing myself as an artist, as a creative. I'll just show you my room. My office is a music studio. I play drums professionally. I'm studying jazz piano. I started studying singing 2 years ago. I'm now in a band where I sing, and I'm trying to become a solo artist. So just constantly kind of, if someone wanted to know, I guess to distill that into who is Scott, I would say, really into technology and innovation, really into creativity, really into spirituality, and finding that all of those things actually tie together in a very fascinating way that I would never have predicted.
Interesting. I mean, product management is all storytelling, right? It's an art in itself. I mean, it is also
Yeah, exactly.
very
I have a friend, and I love this sort of lens to look through. I have a friend who describes it as exactly as you said. It's an art, and you are an artist. It gives you the same dynamics. Whether I'm like a painter looking at a canvas, and I've got my palette, and I'm painting a woman in a field. When's it done? What am I trying to say? What do I feel right now? What do I want this to make me feel? What do I want other people to feel when they see this? How far should I take it? When is it done? What does that even mean? Who is this for? It's like the same stuff. It's like there's no right answers. It's your taste. It's your point of view. And it's how you kind of view the world and execute. And it's very personal.
It's not like the answers cannot be wrong. In product management, it's the same. Maybe we are building exactly the same product. You're doing it in US, I'm doing it in Germany. and the products might be completely opposite to each other,
Yeah.
completely opposite, and the thing is, I have seen people who are like, "Oh, no, 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 if it's either this or that, there can be no other option." I'm like, nah, product management is such a beautiful, like, masterpiece where you can have 100 different ways of solving a problem, and
Yep.
the best part is all 100 are correct.
Yep. Yeah, and you can go anywhere you work. You're gonna anything you encounter, product or whatever, any domain really, you're gonna encounter people who have these archetypes in their mind. This is what I've seen before, therefore that's how it is. So I worked at a marketplace. There's a talent marketplace for hiring marketers on demand. The founders built it using no and low code tools entirely, no owned technology, no proprietary technology, because they'd had PTSD from past stress, past bad experiences of working on tech and getting burnt by things they didn't understand. And so this thing had been running for 2 years and it already reached 55 million ARR, and they didn't have like a UI. There was nothing to log into. The whole thing was predicated on emails and video calls and text messages. And anyone else you'd go to would be like, "Well, the first thing you need to build is a UI." It's like, do you? Do you?
Mm,
Is there a right
true.
answer? They went a completely different path than most would have chosen.
Mm. I mean, that's the beauty of business, right? If you look at history as well, Samsung, huge conglomerate, now does sort of everything. Started as a grocery delivery service, So look at them now. I mean, it's a big name. Probably my phone, like two Samsungs lying here. So yeah, it's like you have to adapt, right? That's the whole point
Hmm. Yeah.
behind that. Like you have to, like you just need to give it a shot. And now with the power of AI, low code, no code tools, what we see is like you can build things very rapidly. So you don't need to hire like 100 people. You can sit down, start doing stuff. I mean, it's not going to be perfect. Of course, there are going to be issues as well, but you can do things very rapidly, right? That was what I was trying to refer to
Yeah.
with that example. But
Yeah.
before we dive into the serious topic, I do have a interesting question because you come from music. I was like, imagine tomorrow you wake up and you're the CEO of Spotify, right? What's the first thing you're going to change on the app?
The shareholders might not like what I would do, but I would probably kind of flip the script. I would put, like, if you take what the CTO of OpenAI said last year and something the Spotify CEO has said multiple times, it abstracts to, sure, we've had creative people in the world and they've had, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not going to do it justice because they sounded very evil when they said this stuff, but like, sure, we have creative people and they've had creative jobs and stuff, but did we really need them and should they have had those jobs? So all to say, like, they're kind of going on, oh, creativity is a commodity. It's not that special. And in fact, I can train AI to produce stuff humans produce and you wouldn't even know the difference. And sure, I'll have human content on my music platform, but I'm not going to pay them anything. And in fact, most artists might make $12 a month, maybe. But and yet I'm making billions of dollars and funding drone warfare and whatever. I would change all of that. So the idea that, flip the script, artists are essential. It's great that we have AI and technology that can, like, augment and amplify humanity, but it is not replacing humanity. And in fact, setting up like an economic model where artists can actually make money and survive. Because right now, the artist class is disappearing. There's a famous band called Garbage. I don't know if you've heard of them. They came out in like the 90s. They've been touring for like 30 years and they were like top tier artists for a long time. And their lead singer said on stage, like this week or very recently, like, hey, this is our last tour. It doesn't make sense to tour anymore economically, except on the coasts of the US, but that doesn't make sense. We lose money when we play now, and we're like the top tier. And what's coming in our wake are all these artists who have no future. Like, they're working multiple jobs, they're suffering, they're trying to create, but they're getting exploited by this system that's just squeezing them for their output and giving them nothing in return. So that's what I would try to address. And the shareholders would be like, "You're fired, Scott. You're a horrible CEO. Like, you're ruining."
So within the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
4 hours, you're like you already
yeah.
lost your
Get out of
job.
here, man. We don't want that.
I mean, it's true. I mean, I listen to a lot of music. I mean, recently I've been listening to a lot of Asian music, like Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, Japanese, Chinese, Pakistan, India, of course, also some here and there, German, a little bit English as well. But most of my playlist is from Asia right now. I just enjoy it. I mean, I just like the music. It's very interesting, and your what you would do is also very interesting. So
It's it's
I hope you're able to do
it's
that.
it's getting very tough right now. So,
Yeah, this itself can be an entire an hour discussion. By the way, it's an important topic, and I recently had a recording with someone else, and we started talking about AI and jobs, and it just became the whole episode's focus. So
yeah.
but I think it is important. But let's dive into what is firstly Realize for people who don't understand what it is, or they are hearing the name first time, because otherwise they will start imagining Realize.
So Realeyes is a computer vision company founded in 2007. The co-founders met at Oxford University, and they originally coalesced around this concept of neuromarketing. So the idea of what is the relationship between a cognitive response to a stimulus like an advertisement and what happens next. Did you become more loyal to the brand? Did you buy the product? That sort of stuff. That led to developing proprietary models for classifying attention and emotion off of webcams. And then that evolved into a core business that's been running for a very long time, more than a decade, where on behalf of the world's largest brands and agencies, we conduct ad testing studies, participating in the online market research ecosystem, acquiring very, very discrete audience segments. You can imagine like women with credit scores of 750 who drive BMWs and shop at Walmart, for example. We bring them into an environment hosted by us. Well, telemetry like is running in the background. I think you see my face with some markers on it. The idea being, well, the audience is exposed to channel-specific variations of ads. They don't see what's on my screen. This is a seamless experience behind the scenes. But as exposed, we're measuring their attention and emotion response, and we deliver insights as to which very particular version, channel-specific. So imagine for that audience I described, on YouTube for the optimal engagement, you should run the version of the ad with the red car, the female hero, and the third call to action. But on Instagram, you should run this other version. I joined 3 years ago to lead a new platform business, and you're seeing kind of come to life what that platform does in this share I have right now. The platform is a new 0 to 1 build. And the thesis of it is that it is a library of very easy to use plug and play capabilities such that you can now run our market leading models in real time just about anywhere, on the client side, on the edge, inside of hardware. In fact, LG Electronics out of Korea featured the same SDK powering this demo in a software defined vehicle on the floor at CES in January. So truly it can run anywhere, and now your hardware and software can see and understand the user and solve problems that haven't been possible before. Just to see it in action, this demo app is showcasing the leading edge nature of what we do. The entire AI system's running locally inside this host app on my Mac in real time. Meanwhile, we're on a podcast together. I've got way too many tabs open. My machine's doing many things concurrently, but the models are so lightweight, there's no impact to me. And then just to see it in action, these are real-time probability curves. They are comprised of 200 millisecond snapshots aggregating that frame by frame. So just to see it in action, those 5 aggregations per second, if you watch the happy curve and I smile, or you watch surprise or disgust. Yeah, trying to do a disgust there. And then for attention, the neural networks are looking for signs that I'm not paying attention. So if I were to take a sip, or if I turn my head. For mobile, we have a concept of eyes on screen. So this is generally the idea of Realize. We're calling it a human verification and human understanding. The idea of now your software can see and understand your users.
So that looks pretty cool. Just a weird question. So because I'm sure when people saw this now, the demo, they would be questioning, can, for example, TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, start like having the camera on app and start evaluating your facial expressions, because then they're able to process, how much should I show, like if you're having discussed, that means this person doesn't like the content maybe. But if there's like excitement, that means the person likes the content. So are they using this kind of technology?
Depending on So a couple of answers to that. If they were using our technology, the user would have to give consent. That's part of our responsible AI charter. So we would never allow our technology to be used without the user saying, I want this. That being said, depending on what you read, depending on what you think are the kind of interests and motivators of these large tech companies, they might be doing it surreptitiously to some degree. I bet some of them are or have at least tried it. And like I've just as an example, we've all wondered, like, this is not the same modality of what you just said, but a lot of us have wondered, I was just talking about this subject and now I'm seeing ads for it. Like we're seeing anecdotal stuff say, well, they can't do that. Can they? Can they turn on the microphone and listen to me and then serve ads? It's like, I saw a very real data point from a friend of mine who's a VP of product at a company in my area, and we were trading notes, war stories, whatever. He said they were testing a mobile app build. It had Amazon Alexa on the phone, and they saw where Amazon Alexa grabbed the mic without getting authorization, et cetera. So all to say, looking through my crystal ball and like the conspiracy theory lenses, I could imagine they do, or they've tried it. The value, and again, we wouldn't allow it if you weren't, if they wouldn't, but the value prop is exactly what you said. And this is some of what I'm working on. Imagine it is, let's say it's a streaming app. Let's say it's like Netflix, and the business development gods are very kind to me. And I make a deal with Netflix where my software is running. We haven't talked about my identity solutions, but we'll talk about it soon. Where I can anonymously, using my model running locally and my attention and emotion, we could generate face embeddings, so unique mathematical sort of fingerprint of a face. The app would be able to recognize that face embedding, so kind of the look of a face, and it could also know demographics, and it could say, hey, this 45-year-old male is watching today. I haven't seen him before. Let me create an anonymous record for him and measure his attention and emotion response to content. And as you said, oh, he doesn't seem to like this. All right. He's not paying attention, or he was smiling and now he's like kind of confused. Like, all right, maybe this is not content that's good for him. And then the app could know, oh, it's not him anymore. Now it's a woman of age 48. Cool. I'll create a record for her and be able to curate her understanding of what she likes. But then it gets into really interesting stuff about kind of what used to live in Nielsen studies on like small subsets of humans representing large populations, where I would extrapolate off of like, oh, we had these boxes on the TVs of 1,000 homes watching the Super Bowl, and therefore I can conclude no one liked that Coors Light ad or whatever. The idea that this would unlock that sort of analytics at scale. You'd be able to know men between 40 and 45 were really enamored with that content. But when this very progressive in-stream product placement happened, where we imposed this beer on the table, most of the men leaned in for that and were really paying attention. But when it was the traditional commercial break and we showed a beer ad, they were on their phones and not looking at all. It opens up all sorts of stuff that's never been possible before. That gets very exciting. But to your point, the user needs to consent so they get that value exchange of like, why am I doing this? Oh, you're giving me a better experience.
You touched a few different examples with the beer, for example. How would, like, because a lot of times people don't even read the consent, correct? They just see the consent and they're like, because it's a lengthy legal document, they're like, yes, I accept, This is very sensitive data. This is like getting more and more like sensitive, right? Because this is tracking like how I move my eyebrows, how I like literally talk and so on. Do you think there should be like an additional explicit consent layer that, hey, you're about to be tracked for your emotions, for your blah, 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 blah. And you need to accept as, otherwise it's going to be sitting in the terms of service of a company, which is probably never going to be read by end users,
I would agree with you. I think it would behoove whoever uses technology like this to make it front and center. And you certainly could try to bury it, but it's going to become very real when the user's saying, why is this asking for camera access? Because that's another step. You give consent, but that still doesn't necessarily give me access to your camera. You still have to grant access to that app. And there too, the user, if you don't tell them, the user's going to say, no, I'm not. Why would I do that? Why does Netflix need to see my face? That's absurd. Just as an example, we made an app. This was before my time, before I joined Realeyes. It is a pretty fascinating app that gets into the kind of psychological handshake we're describing, where it's like, I am a technology. I want to give this to you so that I get value, but you get value too. And the handshake for the consumer to say, I see what you're doing and I see what you're giving me. Yes, I'll do this. So in that case, it's an app we built called Mindfully. And Mindfully is an Android app. The premise of it is it's kind of like the next level, the next evolution of a mental health app. V1, V0, perhaps we might call it, like Calm, Headspace, etc. All one size fits all. Everyone does the same thing. Hey, you look stressed. Do a breathing exercise. Hey, welcome to you look stressed or whatever. How are you feeling today out of 1 to 5? Oh, I'm a 3. Cool. Do this journal entry. See you tomorrow. Nothing really curated, nothing personalized, and therefore very ephemeral. People get the app and then ditch it after like a week. Mindfully is different when the user opts in, and the app conveys this in the consent framework. The premise is when you opt in, our technology runs continuously in the background, and we give you feedback on how your mental health relates to how you use your phone. So, for example, if empirically every time you go to Instagram, you start smiling less, it actually brings your mood down. We would give you that feedback. We'd say, "Hey, Majid, look at these stats. Every time you come to Instagram, it brings your mood down. But hey, when you watch these very particular cat videos on YouTube, it picks your mood up." So it's holding up a mirror to the user where it's, oh, I'm not just mindlessly doom scrolling. It's actually impacting my mental health. Look at that insight and awareness. Then the next level is we could start to forecast that. So if every Tuesday at like 4 p.m. I start doom scrolling Instagram after work, what if instead the app intervenes and says, hey, pick yourself up after work, watch this cat video. And then being able to like take that to the next level. What I'm about to say is controversial depending on who you're talking to and kind of the framing of it, but use that as inputs to prompts to a large language model. So imagine empirically, well, let me say it this way. Tell ChatGPT, for example, the prompt is, you're a cognitive behavioral therapist. Your patient's normally very happy on a Tuesday afternoon. Today, their mood's down, and markedly so by this percentage. Walk them through what they've experienced and what tools they might try next time to deal with the stressors of their day, for example. So like all of that value exchange where it's not, where you convey to the user, like, we're going to show how your phone impacts your mental health and actually empower you to change the trajectory.
I think that could be very helpful, right? For example, on the smartphones right now, there is the feature of the sleep, right? So how much did you sleep? And it's not very accurate, but it still gives you a good idea, right? Plus the thing, how much did you use your phone last week? I mean, when you see the number, right? So I have the report enabled on my phone. Before I disabled it, I was like, I don't believe it. But then I started realizing that I also do this doomsday scrolling, and like I just like mindless, like just like scroll, and you realize, oh damn, I just scrolled for like 2 hours straight. Like,
We are
that's not
like
good.
so well conditioned now. Yeah, it's crazy. Like the robotic habitual patterns we're all running. It's insane. Yeah.
Hmm? And I think something like this for me, I mean, because it's not going to any LLM, it's just for me. The data is showing it to
Yep.
me. Hey, Majid, we noticed that whenever the same example you gave, Instagram, Majid, whenever you open up Instagram, your mood sort of goes down. Whenever you open up, I don't know, YouTube or any other app, you start being happy. So it will start making me think as well as a human, like my intelligence or my psychology will start going like, okay, maybe there's something hidden there.
Yeah, like I think the next level would almost be like debits and credits of happiness. We didn't build this, but what you were just saying, I could imagine I have a ledger where it's like, you're stealing from your happiness by going back to Instagram. And so like, yeah, yeah,
True. Resolution: uninstall
yeah.
Instagram.
Like as I'm opening it, it's like, you're still in the red. You're still below zero on happiness, my friend.
that would be actually hilarious, if a finger comes up, don't do that, and then points to another app,
Yeah,
open this
here's the
instead.
happy app. Go there.
That would be very interesting. But because you are a creative person, and you sort of, like you mentioned, you're a left and right minded person, right? So drumming, then product management, and solving something in computer vision, right? What was the pivotal moment that actually shifted you from studying economics plus arts, and then you realized that you want to go into product management? Like, how did you come across product management?
I got very lucky. I don't know if we've talked about belief systems on our first call, but maybe I'll just leave it there and say maybe we come back to belief systems. I'll just say right now I got lucky. I had no plan, no intention. I mentioned I studied economics and film in college. I didn't like working with my film major friends and kind of cohort in making film projects. A lot due to my own issues is kind of a lot of unresolved childhood stuff I had to work through. But I'll just say when I graduated, I was like, I don't want to work with these people. So I'll go the econ route. So I was an analyst for several years, management consulting, economic consulting, an internal consulting role within a nonprofit healthcare provider. And there, just generally, this idea of the analyst, the business analyst, is here's a lot of chaos, a lot of data, a lot of unstructured stuff. And then here's the customer. And then in between the data, me, and the customer who's buying our services are the team of like a managing director, associates, et cetera, who are saying, hey, analyst, make sense of that crap. Like we need this and this and this from it. So it gives you that muscle of unstructured, chaotic stuff. Can you make pictures and tell stories from it? So I did that for like 7 or 8 years in those different capacities. We already know that I'm a musician. So while I was in New York City with a band there while working at a nonprofit healthcare provider as an analyst. And we had an opportunity with a producer in LA, and he said like no one in New York understood what we were doing, but this producer in LA, he got it. Like he called me and said, I heard your demo. I want to work with you. I get it, what you're trying to do. And I was like, no one understands what we're trying to do. This is amazing. And we went out to LA to record an album with him. It went really well. It sounded great. We were all very excited. The producer was excited. We realized we have better opportunities in LA. Like, what are we doing in New York? We should move there. So the band resolved, let's move to LA. That was June of 2008. I got a job at an internet yellow pages company, still as an analyst. The other two guys were in finance, and June of 2008 was not a time to be in finance, so the band died. They could not get jobs. They could not move with me cross country. But that pivotal moment where that band died was actually the vessel for me to find my destiny in products. So at that internet yellow pages company, after a year of doing analyst worth, really not worth mentioning, not very exciting. After a year of doing that, I joined the search engine marketing team. I got really deep in SQL as an autodidact, and that was really that was the key point where after doing that for a year and writing code that was governing spend on the order of $3 to $4 million a month with the major search engines, optimizing for phone call and email lead delivery on these geo category pages on an internet yellow pages company like Denver lawyers, Chicago dentists, Orlando plumbers. After doing that and learning about all the tech around it and working with the different teams who supported it, one day they just said, hey, Scott, you should be a product manager and we'll promote you to be such. And I said, okay, cool. What's that mean? What's that? It sounds fun. This is like 2010, so it wasn't like the hot cultural, oh my God, product management is like the sought after role. It was just like, cool, let's do it. I thought I was going to be a search engine marketing manager, but now you're telling me I'm a product manager. Great, let's do it. What the hell does that mean? So I had no idea, no plan. I just got very lucky. That role right away, they gave me ownership of a performance advertising product with, it was a $150 million book of business, 55,000 customers. They were all these like those geo categories I mentioned. They would be like Chicago lawyers, Orlando dentists, et cetera, who were paying a premium each month, like $2,500 in exchange for guaranteed email and phone call leads delivered just to them. So I just dove in the deep end, worked with the data science team on the optimization engine for that, where I have search, I have network, I have our owned and operated sites. I need to do yield management on 5 Orlando dentists to show. Who do I show and why? I'm updating keywords and bids across thousands of accounts. Let me work with our APIs on how we do that. We're selling listings in phone books that I then have to translate programmatically into search campaigns. Like just really weird stuff where you just dive in the deep end and learn so much, coming like 0 to 1 as a product manager. So I got very lucky, and then that set me on the path of a career in ad tech, martech, Internet of Things, working at very large enterprises like Lenovo and Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and now all this natural convergence. Where again, I did not have a plan, but it all led me to now working on like the leading edge of the AI renaissance without a plan. I just got very lucky.
That's been a roller coaster, probably.
Yeah, I'm trying to put my hands up to ride it. I'm like, ah.
So how was it? Was it like more going up, or was it like going down, or was it like all too many spirals?
It felt. I mean, I'm kind of zooming out. I find that I think faster than a lot of people, and I think I might bristle faster. Like I think you're a 0 to 1 person. That generally the kind of 0 to 1 archetype is you like the excitement of doing new things. All this white space. We're here. We want to get there. We don't know how to do it. Figure it out. So you figure it out. And as you do that, this is so exciting. And then when you figure out a critical mass of it, you're like, well, I figured it out. Like, so what do I do?
You're like, what's next? What's
Yeah,
next?
it's like, well, it's not done. You've still got all this. Yeah, but that's not exciting. Like that's like our back stuff. Like, oh, I need to put in better roles and permissions. It's like someone else can do that. What's the exciting thing that's next? So I would say that dynamic hits me pretty hard sometimes. But if it's an environment where it's just constantly changing as it is in AI, like you have no idea what's going on. Everything, you look at your watch and everything's different. Like, so this is a great time to be doing this where you're never going to get bored. I think it has generally been like step functions up where I'll go a layer of granularity deeper in my belief system where it's been like the universe saying, you didn't think you were ready for this, but that set you up for it. Take my hand. You're going to go up a level. I'd be like, oh, really? Okay, let's step up. Cool. And that's just what it's felt like.
Mm-hmm. Now that's interesting now because you touched upon some key points, building at the edge of AI, like trying to do some innovation, right? So I realized like you also showed us the demo of how like you're building a solution for measuring human attention, emotion, and identity. So would love to learn how does your solution, like how does your approach to vision AI differ from what's actually happening or what exists in the market right now?
So there's a few facets of what we do and why it's different than what's out there. I think a lot of our secret sauce really starts with our training and testing data. When I showed a demo of our technology earlier, and I was referring to our ad testing business, we've been running that business for more than a decade, and it's built us up a very, very differentiated sort of war chest, for lack of a better word, of a data. We have what's been validated by big tech companies of customers we work with. It's been validated as the largest ethically sourced in the wild collection of faces. Covers several million identities from more than 93 countries. But most importantly, we have GDPR compliant consent giving us the rights to test and train models on those faces. What we've learned is the majority of companies marketing face models are using publicly available data sets to test and train. I won't go into the weeds on what that means, but you can imagine these are data sets that you can acquire kind of freely on the internet. Those data sets index largely on lighter skin tones. It means that when you're testing, these data sets are pretty friendly and they'll make your accuracy and performance numbers look really good. But as well, it'll mean the models that you're commercializing off those data sets are not fair. And that leads to several years now of bad press, like at least it could be 10 years now, honestly, if not 8 or more, of bad press where people are calling out, hey, these face models are racist. So we have a data set that changes that conversation because we didn't steal it and it has comprehensive demographic coverage across 93 countries. But then the next level is we're using that data set to great effect. So I can share async, possibly a fairness evaluation from a model we released, where it shows our fairness across demographic, age, and gender segments. But we have a big tech customer using our solution billions of times a month. And part of our journey production with them was they challenged us with their own demographic fairness testing protocol. And in that test, we showed fairness across darker skin tones that actually hasn't been publicly seen before. So very much actively disrupting this idea of responsible AI, where every data is stolen. Who cares? It's the AI Wild West. Ours is actually ethically sourced. And hey, all these models are racist. Our models are actually leading edge on fairness across skin tones. From there, what's different is the scalability we're able to drive. We built an identity. I know we said at the top of the call, we're going to kind of explore the identity market. What I've found in our journey, we entered the market by supporting a big tech company. They were looking for a face verification model 2 years ago to address fraud on their platform, fake celebrity ads, fake celebrity profiles, but also to allow users to get back into their accounts with a video selfie as a sort of video-based account authentication. We won their RFI, and they're now using this billions of times around the world, billions of times a month. And from that then led us into say, well, great, we built these building blocks for this big tech company. Now what can we do with this? What other problems can I solve with these new identity building blocks on my platform that I run? Our ad testing business pretty quickly gave us the focus point for that. That business has given us a front row seat to the rise of fraud online. So like bots, click farms, people lying about who they are. And that allowed us to see further differentiation on what we're doing, which is there's a huge chasm in kind of internet security for human verification. The best thing you can do right now online is the same thing they do at banks. And now at the airport, you're going to do a KYC check. So I'm going to see your government ID, get a photo of it. I'm going to have a liveness check and validate that you are a living human being in front of this phone right now. And I'm going to validate the best that I can that that's a real government passport and that this living person is the same person on that passport. Great for high stakes use cases when there's a lot on the line. Takes multiple minutes to do it, tends to cost $1 or more. You're kind of torturing the user, to be fair. They're giving up a lot. They're going through a lot of work, and it's very invasive. They're revealing not everything they can about themselves, but a lot. Again, great for high stakes use cases, but that's not relevant for what I would argue 99% of what we do online. And then if we look to the other end of the spectrum, you've got stuff like CAPTCHA, bot detection, SMS, email authentication. These things that have been around a long time, we can go one by one, but I'll just go quickly. Like CAPTCHA is now way too complicated for humans. I keep failing it, and yet AI can be trained to win it now, to defeat it. Bot detection, we were working with customers in retail and online ticketing where they are defending the world's largest concert tickets, the world's largest retail flash sales. They have the latest and greatest technology, and they are still overwhelmed by literally millions of bots who can get in. They can't stop them. SMS and email, you can, like, it's kind of arbitrary. It's like not very defensible what they do. I could go create a number right now and say, hey, you texted me. I'm clearly the right person and who I'm supposed to be. That doesn't even get into like SIM swapping, et cetera. So I'll just say there's these device and network fingerprinting is another one where everyone kind of does it, but it has no efficacy. So there's all this stuff on the left side of the spectrum where you can check the box. Yeah, I'm doing it, but it doesn't work. There's nothing in the middle. And then there's the heavyweight IDV KYC check. And what we saw is this huge white space. So that's what we're doubling down on. We've actually built a new category defining lightweight identity solution. It can validate personhood, uniqueness, and demographics in seconds for cents. We're calling it the better CAPTCHA. CAPTCHA just keeps out bots. Ours keeps out bots. It can validate, is this person already in your population as a user, or are they truly unique, and should you allow them to create a new account? If they are a human and they're unique, are they trying to catfish? Are they lying about who they are, or are they legitimately representing who their real demographics are? And then with that, being able to have a lightweight authentication where once you go through that once, I can then authenticate, yeah, it's the same person. Cool, let them in. And doing that at a scale and economics that's really not being touched right now. Our opening price for that is 10 cents pay as you go. License deals make it 2 cents, but volume commitments make it like fractions of a penny. So going after all this white space where we're inundated, it's too easy to be a bot. It's too easy to lie about who you are, masquerade on multiple accounts, et cetera. It's just too easy to commit fraud. And on that backdrop, as I mentioned at the top of the call, there are many companies coming out where they want to just track the shit out of us. Sorry for swearing. Sam Altman says, hey, I've got World, formerly WorldCoin. We just need your retina. Trust me. We've got Clear at the airport in the US saying, hey, give me your passport. I'll make it easy to get on planes, but I'm going to sell everything I know about you. You've got just generally a whole consortium of companies coming online who want to track, exploit, surveil us, and sell everything they can. I'm trying to create a world using this leading edge tech where you can't lie, you can't cheat, you can't steal, but you don't have to give up who you are. You can maintain your digital sovereignty and be anonymous, and hold on to your power in this world that's taking shape. So I think all of that is really differentiating what we're doing in a very unique way.
Mm-hmm. Because now this brings me to two questions, right? So the first one being, you mentioned about this identity platform, right? That you were doing billions of transactions in a single month. That's a lot of transactions,
Yeah.
in a single day or even in a single second. So when you do that much of volume or like scale it in practical terms, what were the challenges you were having while doing that?
Yeah, it's funny. The numbers are truly insane when you math it out. I've never said that. When you math it out, it's like 3,400 times a second or something at the current rate we're at. And the challenge is they're trying to go bigger. And with the first version of the solution we gave them, they're maxing out their compute because we did not build it for this volume. The challenge we had, you had a couple of ways of kind of asking the question in your setup for the call. So I'll try to cover a little more ground and keep me honest. But the idea is this opportunity came to us through a relationship we already had with this major tech company. We already worked with them with a service we provide called AI data collection. The idea is we've been building face models for almost 2 decades. We're so mature with that we offer it as a service. And this company is one of our biggest customers for that, where we help them build avatars. And so through that relationship, we kind of heard through the grapevine, we got a tip from a senior scientist who worked there that was one of our advisors. And she said, hey, this company you're already working with, they're opening up an RFI for a face verification model. She already knew about our pedigree with our training data and our fairness. And she felt like we'd be well positioned to meet the criteria of the decision that they're going to make. So she was like, hey, I think you should enter this. So that was the beginning of this. This was the very beginning of 2023. We essentially bluffed our way into their RFI. Like, yeah, man, we do face verification. Sure. We went 0 to 1 on a model that quarter, and we won because of the reasons I've already mentioned: the demographic fairness, the ethically sourced training data, et cetera. And we gave them a model that kicked ass, truly. Some things happened that let me take a step back. So it wasn't that easy. It wasn't just, hey, you're the winner, we're going straight to production. It actually took 1.5 years of various hoops because getting a biometric solution into production with the likes of these like top countries on earth is not simple. So after doing that, by Q4 of last year, we started getting closer to the use cases. And the challenge was the first version of what we built, going back to that RFI, was based on their understanding of the problem they were trying to solve. It ended up being, we think we're going to use this 100 million times a month. And they gave us requirements for what they wanted the SDK to do. So we agreed that it was going to be like what we, not really like starting from scratch. We're going to use an existing SDK we have where it's Python on the inside, or like a Python wrapper around C++. And there's probably more nuance there that a real engineer would say better than I just did, but I'll leave it there. And the idea, we made some choices saying, great, the throughput you're expecting, this will serve the job. We gave it to them for testing. They said, yes, it will. Thank you. They went live the end of last year with some initial testing, and the results they saw right away blew their minds. They're saying, we're seeing just from the first go of this, we're seeing like a 30% net impact over what we were doing before. This is amazing. We want to roll it out bigger. It turned out some of the choices we made and what we gave them set us up for success. So for example, there was another vendor in the mix. The solution we gave showed them the raw embeddings. It revealed to them the raw embeddings, whereas the other vendor encrypted them. We did not, that was not a strategic choice. That's just what we built. It could be based on how we operate. I'm not sure the nuance there, but it was a choice we made. It turns out that set us up for success because we could naturally play with this company's state-of-the-art neural network infrastructure. They already had systems set up for generating data sets of embeddings and comparing them. And we naturally fit in, whereas the other vendor didn't. So it's just stuff like that where we got lucky again with the choices we made. As the scale kept going, every time we check in with them from December of last year through this year, they'd say, this looks great, we're going bigger. This looks great, we're going bigger. And we kept watching the trajectory go from, hey, 1 billion to 2 billion to 4 billion to 8 billion to 9 billion. And it started cresting around 10 billion. And that's when they raised their hand and said, hey, we're having scaling challenges here. The benefit for us is they're running it on-prem in their state-of-the-art data center. So I am not supporting the overhead of 10 billion calls a month. We've kind of outsourced it to them. But it's quickly been revealed that the first version of what we gave them will not support, like they're looking, the first we heard at the beginning of this year when they were seeing this trend was, we're going to try to hit 25 billion calls a month by September. They can't do that with the version we gave them right now. They're hitting capacity constraints. So we're negotiating with them like, hey, are GPUs available? Because we could totally make a kick-ass version of this that does batch processing using GPUs. Could we give you a faster SDK built in these ways or that way? What kind of hardware are you using? Like what opportunities are there where we can find the levers to pull to help them unlock that? So that's generally kind of the story of where we got and the volume they're going after, and how based on decisions both sides made early on when we were focused on the first use case, it turns out that we're not set up for where they're going now. So we're trying to like support them on that.
You don't need 100 customers for a product like yours. You need one who actually has a good problem, and sometimes even one enterprise customer brings you so much money that you're just so busy handling that one customer, you don't need to look for a second one directly.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
agree with you, but in that case, we definitely have time, and we're looking for others. But the exciting thing, and this is kind of product strategy 101, and we just had a call with my leadership team on this today. Whether it's the customer we're talking about now, I'll put them in this box, or another customer we just did a deal with, I'll put them in this box. This first customer is consumer apps. I won't say who they are, but some of the world's biggest platforms, and all the reasons, the problems they're having, why they put that RFI out, why we won, how they're using us, the reasons why, and where it goes next. That applies to literally every other competitor of theirs. And same when we struck a deal with this, I'll call them an AI annotation platform dealing with fraud. There are so many AI annotation platforms right now dealing with fraud, where they're trying to onboard crowds of people to give feedback to ML models, and it's like the fraud vectors there are wild. Like, yeah, I can have somebody log on for me and pretend to be a doctor and make $50 an hour for me. Cool. Why wouldn't I do that? So there's all these consistent problems where you learn from one and say, I'm pretty sure that applies to all these other peers of yours. I'm pretty sure that applies to all these other peers of yours as well. And just trying to double down on it that way.
I mean, this all comes at because when people hear about the whole, hey, my face is being used by someone like you touched upon this multiple times, that we source the data in a fair manner, right? I have a feeling that there is people will still be concerned about this, right? And I think the whole point is we also need to educate them. How do you approach the intersection of privacy concerns and the valuable insights for that emotion and attention measurement can actually provide to the company and also to the customer, maybe?
So in both cases, identity and attention and emotion, the privacy is built in. So like that demo you saw that I gave at the top of the call, the entire AI system was running locally inside that host app. Nothing's leaving my machine. Images from the camera are immediately deleted and are essentially, the images are, in simple terms, transitioned into ones and zeros. They're analyzed and parsed into code, parsed into the analytical framework of the AI system, where it then puts together those measurements, and no images are stored. For what we did with identity, the premise is the same. We built this system that can easily plug in to validate personhood uniqueness, demographics, and can do authentication, and it doesn't need to store images. It uses the image to generate a face embedding, which is 512 data points, essentially hashed mathematical representation describing the image bespoke to my model that is irreversible back to the image, and the image is deleted. And those embeddings are the currency we use to say, do I think this is the same person, from a set of other face embeddings using a similarity function. And the idea where I see all of this going, and as we kind of go back to this idea of like the future of identity and what's next, that white space we found is leading to some really compelling opportunities, where the vision I see right now is, imagine my model plus a zero knowledge proof hashing algorithm can run locally on the client side on any one of our phones. And that will allow me to authenticate that I am who I am without revealing who I am. And just to play it out, imagine the workflow, the user journey. Let's pretend it's a wallet or whatever app it is on my phone where this is happening. I onboard to that app day zero with the heavyweight KYC check. This is one of those high stakes use cases where you want to get it right. I want to know it's really Scott Jones. He's really a human being. He really lives in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. That's his government ID, and this is the person. Cool, confirmed. Once that's confirmed, send that same selfie to my model running locally with the zero knowledge proof algorithm. Now you've got an embedding here that can become the source of truth to say, is it still that same person from day zero when I did the heavyweight check? And now imagine I'm out on the internet doing what I do. I go to a site that's locked down. It says, hey, we only allow real humans who are over 18. I scan a QR code. My app is invoked. I do the face embedding check. I supply my face embedding to it, and it says, yep, that's a match. You're Scott. Now the app is invoked even more, and it says, hey, this site that you just talked to, it wants you to validate that you're over 18 and a human. What do you want to tell them? I say, over 18, human. The site then automatically lets me in. And I never had to reveal who I am. I just revealed through this anonymous framework using cloud-side biometrics that I am unique. I am who I say I am, and I'm a unique human, and I'm over 18.
Interesting. And like, for example, taking the same example, right? So this would be done in another app, maybe called Realeyes or something, but Realeyes never gets the data, or anything else. It could be a native app on the phone, right? Anyone
Yeah.
who requests the sort of, I'm just going to make up, let's say Majid is a company who needs this, who says only 18 plus can join his app. So Majid has to pay with respect to how many idents he gets, right? Or would it be different?
Yeah, the payment part is interesting. Like, who's paying in this in this setting? I've been exploring like the European wallet space because that's like the market that's really going live, right, or trying to go live. It seems like it's going to be a pretty slow haul. But what I'm learned, yeah, like consumers aren't going to pay for this, so it's like finding what are those pockets of who has skin in the game where they would want to pay for this. So that's like the interesting. I'm right now, like for the past 3 months, I've been networking into the rooms who are figuring out what's next with decentralized identity and self-sovereign identity, and I've been telling them, based on all the stories I just told you, we've like created this new lightweight category defining moment, and my biometrics can run on the client side with zero knowledge proof. And in fact, you'd be able to reproduce your face key from any device. It's device agnostic. As long as it has my model and my ZKP, you could prove who you are anywhere. And like that's like no one's thought of that yet. So it's like pretty exciting, but at the same time, so much has to be figured out. Like these wallets are just getting off the ground. Who's going to pay for them? Who's going to like what are the requirements? It's all like just now taking shape.
And you make it sound very simple, right? The reality is it's not. I mean, making it super lightweight, it's not. I mean, like it's the same when you take a debit card or a credit card and you tap it onto the machine in a supermarket. Seems very simple, convenient for the user. Beep, done, not a problem.
Yeah.
But the technology behind is so complex. There's so many things going on, and it's the same here. It just looks like, yeah, cool. Open up your camera, scan yourself, and then suddenly you can log into the system.
Yeah.
And I think that can also prevent a lot of other kinds of frauds that happen, with respect to that. If there's someone suspicious trying to log into my, I don't know, something like that account, it can prevent, like they immediately say, hey, you need to verify yourself, because the cost of it, even if the company has to pay, is so low, like because it's being done locally. So there is not very complex technology on the, like you're not calling APIs and you're not calling huge servers and GPUs and stuff. It's basically on the machine, on the person's smartphone, for example. So it becomes very interesting. This whole thing is very, like, I think it's evolving it is evolving, but it's going to get more and more and more interesting. Also, concerns from people like are raising, right, about the whole piracy thing. Like I remember yesterday, or was it the day before, someone came to me and said, Majid, does Gemini take my pictures like and start selling them because I uploaded a picture to make a cool picture of myself? I was like, I don't know, read the terms and service.
Did you check out what OpenAI did with Sora 2? They created the Cameo. Have you seen the Cameo?
Yeah, I did.
they essentially like because of these groups I've been networking into on like the future of identity, I now have like words to use to kind of describe this, but they've essentially like they've like drawn a line in the sand of like the first version of AI consent with your likeness. It's like, will it hold water in court? I don't know, but by virtue of doing essentially their like onboarding or whatever it looks like, I haven't done it, but by doing that and saying I'm going to make myself available as a cameo, everyone gets to use your likeness in perpetuity for any purpose they want. Like, okay.
The Sora 2 is not available in Germany. As last time I checked, it said, no, not in your country right now. So, wondering why. Wondering why.
Yeah, the German laws, German privacy, that's something I've come to appreciate with what I've been doing. Your market is very unique, very
I mean,
skeptical.
it also gives sort of like I used to think it sometimes it's not for the good, but then I started realizing that no, it is for the good, because the thing is, imagine it happened like if I gave you my email and you just started like for a specific purpose, let's say recruitment, and you just started bombarding me with random absolute random shit. Sorry, now I also said it. um I would freak out. I would be like, how can I trust anyone that I give them my email, my personal information for one thing? And well, Scott started bombarding me with the email. And then Scott basically said, you know what? I'm going to sell Majid's email for like a euro or 10 euros to like 2,000 people. So they can also bombard Majid with email. So it becomes you start off sort of like respecting the whole thing. And interesting thing for you, I don't know if you know that there's a government department. It's called Berliner, like in Berlin, it's called Berliner Datenschutzbehörde. So they are like data protection authority.
Hmm.
So if you notice a data breach, or if a company sort of f's up with your data, you can actually lodge an official complaint, and they actually check.
Wow.
It's insane. And they're very, very strict. They're like with GDPR. You don't want to mess around with GDPR. Like the fines are so bad, like so
Yeah.
bad. It can destroy an organization. It's always like minimum this or X percent of your revenue, whatever is higher.
Yeah. That's
So it
intense.
becomes
Yeah. Generally, my appreciation for Europe versus the U.S. There's these memes that fly around LinkedIn a lot, and generally it's like, oh, who does better innovation? And they'll say like the meme will show SpaceX catching a rocket with those chopsticks, and then in Europe it'll say, oh, we have a cap that doesn't disconnect from the bottle.
That's true. That's
It's like,
true.
yeah, I get that, but then at the same time, to your point, we are exploited. We're constantly getting spam. I get spam calls, spam texts, all kinds of crap on my phone all day long. I'm getting spam emails all day long. You don't get any of that. You guys are
It's very less.
protected.
It's very
Yeah.
less. And I know in US it's very bad, because one of my friends was visiting me from US, and he bought a service from a company. Man, they made his life a miserable hell. Like every 10 minutes someone from the organization would give him a call. Hey, are you interested in service X? Are you interested in service Y? He was like, if anyone calls me again, I'm going to cancel what I bought from you. I don't need that anymore, because this is insane. Like he got like 20 calls in a single day. It was like call after call after call after call after call, just to upsell to this person. But now let's coming back to the whole identity category. You built a solution going from 0 to mid 7-figure ARR in 18 months. That's pretty dope. Respect. So how did you find sort of the market demand, and how did you iterate towards the product market fit so quickly? Because 18 months is not that long. It's less than a VC cycle. VC cycle is like 2 years, right? That's what they say. Keep a runway for 2 years.
Yeah, the big unlock was that big tech company where, again, the opportunity kind of fell in our lap of, think you guys should enter that competition. And so we're like, really? Can we? We can. Cool. Let's try. Let's like place the bet. And we won. And then it became that 18 months was like figuring out, well, how the hell do I get this into production? There's so many challenges. Like there's the technology side, there's the regulatory side where they said, I can't tell you who it is on this call, but we had a biometric solution in production years ago, and it blew up in our faces, and we had to like do a PR campaign saying we'll never do it again. So they had to reverse that decision, and we had to like help them build up internal sort of internal materials to evangelize the pros and cons of doing this and why it makes sense, why face recognition is now more normalized globally, and here's where you see it, and why we've already been running a solution using the same building blocks in production to solve that fraud problem with personhood, uniqueness, and demographics for years at that point, or a year at that point. So helping them build the case that no, this is normalized, this is a thing now, this isn't as controversial. And then getting to the use cases they were working on where they said, cool, we get it, where we've got all the boxes checked legally and we're working with regulators and they understand it's coming. Now we're getting crisper on the use cases. Can you help us launch this thing? In Q4 of last year, helping them in testing and learning, getting them off the ground with a pay-as-you-go deal, where they started seeing the efficacy of this and then saying, holy shit, sorry to swear again, we want to make a deal for 2025 because we're seeing ourselves use it at this level. And then we made a deal with them at that level, and then it turns out their utilization like 100x to that because it was so impactful. So, and then there just kind of, we don't truly have product market fit with other consumer app companies like them. We're working on it, but like there we got quite lucky. A sales cycle, like if this was organic coming through business development and trying to make this happen, I think there'd probably be more years on front of it. So we're trying to like now catch up with others saying it, as I said before, like pattern matching. The reasons why we won with them, I'm pretty sure apply to you. Here's slides describing that, and have the call with them. They're like, yep. Wow, you can do that? I didn't know that's possible. Yep. So it's now like doing the hard work of replicating that because we don't have the easy inside access to all of them that we had before.
I think it's also like this is special in this industry. This is very special in this industry. Once you get with a customer, like a big customer, the word of mouth becomes very powerful. Like they start introducing you because like one person jumps from one company, becomes a head at another company because they're still the head of the same department. So they call you up, hey, Scott, now I'm the head of at XYZ. And, you know, my manager bought the solution back then. Now I want to buy the solution for where I am. And that's like massive, like, it's the best outreach, you know, like it's the best because they know what your solution can do, and then they're telling their friends and also like, you know, like, hey, because the thing is this is protecting the people, so they don't try to hide, you know, we are using Realeyes. No, they don't do that. They're telling people, oh yeah, we are using Realeyes, you know, because they know that the purpose why they are using Realeyes or a fraud solution is the same. They want to protect the people, the consumer at the end of the day. So, and if shit hits the ceiling, oops, also sorry, I said it again, but if shit hits the ceiling, right, it's not going to be good for the company, you know, it's going to be a horrible thing. It's going to be, they're going to be dragged into the court and they will have to pay hefty fines, you know. So that's why I've seen, I mean, whenever you go to these conferences, fraud risk, you know, like from MRC or these guys, all sitting down and talking about, you know, like, hey, we are seeing this, what's happening here, what's happening. They're discussing trends very openly, which is something I really like admire. There's no hiding this stuff, you know. They're talking about it. They're talking about regulations that's super like synced, you know, that this is what we really need to do because this is becoming a problem. That's I really love that about this industry.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed that what you just said happens, because they have had some departures at this company where that could very easily happen. So I'll look forward to those calls.
No, I mean, yeah, because I noticed we are coming more towards an end as well. Would love to talk about AI, you know, like because you're working in the industry. So AI is full of hype and inflated promises as well sometimes. As someone building like a vision AI solution deployed at massive scale, what's the biggest misconception people have about AI, that what can AI deliver today versus what do you think it will be able to deliver in, let's say, 3 or 5 years from now?
Just attaching myself to the word misconception, I think one is that all AI is inherently LLMs. So like a lot of people who would see the demos I gave, whether it was attention and emotion earlier on the call, or if they see the identity demos, they might say, is this like a foundation model? Like whose model are you using? Because the assumption is everything's LLMs now. So that's just one point to make, but it's not. There's still like our technology is considered old school, I guess, with like neural networks and whatever. Generally, the misconception that seems we have, and kind of with all of humanity right now, you look anywhere and you'll hear with definitive 100% clarity, this is true. And someone else saying with definitive 100% clarity, that's completely false. And it's like, well, which one? I don't know. So we have people everywhere you look saying AI can take every job away. Any function you have, it's going to take it away right now with the technology we have driven by LLMs. And the counterpoint to that is you're insane. That's not true. It doesn't work that way. This voice seems to be more correct. But then the idea of, well, what's the nuance there? Like, what are the roles that seem at risk? It's like anyone who, I guess you could just look at like the life of a product manager as like a cool lens to look through. So if I have to write, like we used to suffer through writing hours of documents. And a couple weeks ago, I had to like put together what you would call like a PRD kind of. It wasn't exactly a PRD, but functionally like, hey, this is requirements. I spent like 5 to 7 minutes kind of putting up a prompt to work with Claude on that. The first result was pretty good. I gave it a little bit of refinement and then like, cool, great, put it in Confluence. So like 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes to do that. So anyone whose job is, oh, I write stuff. Anyone whose job is like status updates, project management, things where it's like keeping your arms around stuff and being able to generate, like synthesize updates on it for this level of audience based on this project and what we just did, where we're going and what our issues are. Let me spend an hour writing an email. It's like, nope, it's not that anymore. It's like, hey, send an update based on the releases that just went out for my CEO. Make a slide about that. Like all of that stuff is totally automated now and you don't have to worry about it. People who hung their hat on doing that, like I'm the guy who makes sure everyone's aligned and I'm the guy who, it's like that job is not relevant anymore. So I think that's real. But people who bring taste, like a point of view, you were talking about before, I think like vibe coding, it's so easy to build stuff. It's like, yeah, you can build anything you want now. That's great, but it's still, that just means it's easier to build stuff no one wants. So it's like still, what are you building and why? Strategic thinking, discernment, all of that is the stuff that LLMs can't solve. But the stuff where it's like, I move things from here to here, I keep people aligned. It's like, that's redundant.
True. I think like with the whole no code, right? For example, I saw one guy, it's a really good example I have. So this guy, brilliant marketing person, had an idea. So first he did something in Excel, like Google Sheets, and then basically tried to sell a report. You enter the data, it generates like a sheet in the Google Sheet, and then he saves that, churns out, and sends it to the customers, and then they can basically buy the report. So he built something like that. He said he can scale it up, of course, automate a lot of things and so on. But he said he's still not sure. He said with Google Sheets, it's a lot of things where I want the people to be able to generate the report themselves, because then I can reduce his own overhead, that he doesn't need to sit down, not giving access to the sheet, but rather having like a simple interface. So he did that with one of the famous tools, like no code tools. He did a POC, more or less, because he was not sure if it's worth it to inject, like if he built the system, it would cost him 50, 60, $70,000, it's going to be then security, her server, and he didn't want to get into that because he understands software. He has been working in marketing software, so he did it, made almost $100,000 within like 4 weeks, and then went back and then built the software with a proper software team, and then scaled it up properly. I think he's still doing it, but it's only a short-term thing. It's not a product that can live forever. I think that's like it gives people power, because some of the people who want to do startups, they don't have like $100,000 sitting in their account that, hey, like, I want to build a product, and so it's a pretty good thing. It can, I mean, even if you don't build like a workable prototype, like a workable product, you can still build a click dummy to
Yep.
see if it even makes sense to go that route. You can pitch to people, you can talk to people, right? So you're not just explaining the idea. Like with your example of writing a writing PRDs was the worst pain a product manager has. It's used to be the hardest thing you do. But since Claude or use ChatGPT or whatever you want to use, the PRD quality also improved a lot because
Hmm.
it starts showing you things that you were not even thinking.
Yep.
I mean, that's something I've noticed with me at least.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, there's an example I had. You reminded me of it. I met someone on Y Combinator. I kind of use it as a networking platform, their co-founder matchmaking system. So it'll like routinely introduce you to interesting people. And I met this interesting person where he was working on a product. The premise was you give it essentially give it like photos of your living space, and it will show you what furniture would look like in that
Mm,
space, and then ultimately sell it to you. His first instantiation they went for was rugs, like designer rugs. And we were just trading ideas. And I said, an interesting, and he's like, I don't even know how to test this. And I said, have you heard of Lovable? And he said, Lovable, what's that? And this was like spring, like May. So I said, well, let's look. Here's my take on it. Like, here's what I would. He was saying, I don't know how to test this with users. Like, how do I even know if I should do this? And I said, well, I think you're thinking a little big. Let's get a little even more narrow. How about the use case is I'm finding furniture or rugs on Craigslist, and I want to know how it looks in my room. And he said, well, that's interesting. Like, how would you even build that? And I said, well, let me show you. And I go to Lovable, and I just describe real simply I'm working on this product where it allows people to find furniture on Craigslist, and then it allows them to see what that furniture would look like in their living space. So there's a Craigslist search part, and then there's a input my photo part, and then there's whatever I find you impose on my space. Here's my sense of the workflow or whatever. And as we all know, like these tools, they hit go, and it's like, oh, I'm thinking you're a genius, great idea. You're gonna make $1 million with this, whatever. And then it shows me the thing, and I'm like, this is how I would test it. Like it's not perfect, but look at what it did. Like I can totally like get this in front of people who you think are your customers. And he's like, wow, I didn't know you could do that. It's like, yeah, it's a whole new world, man.
mm. Yeah, that's very true. Very true. I mean, it's also that's and your friend is exactly the right kind of person. Like test something easy without having to inject like a fortune in the whole idea.
Hmm.
I hope it worked for him. If it didn't, he will not feel that guilty because Lovable, for example, how much would have he spent? Like $125, $200, $1,000. So the dent on your bank account is significantly smaller as compared to like
Yep.
building a POC, like a proper POC with a software company, and because that becomes very expensive. But final question, because I would like to end this on a lighter note. You have worked with the people in the jazz, like music industry, and you have worked with Fortune 500 executives. So who's more demanding, a perfectionist jazz musician in the studio or a CEO pushing for an impossible product timeline?
Yeah, I think it's most often the latter. um, I haven't worked with those personalities exist in the music scene for sure. I haven't encountered many of them, but I've read about them where they'll like mind games. I heard like Miles Davis would put people through mind games, and I heard a great mind game a great mind game that a alum of Miles Davis's band put a buddy of mine through. So just to give an example, my buddy was is an amazing drummer, and he was at a music camp where one of these top tier legendary musicians who played with Miles Davis was like a leader of that camp. And my buddy was like rehearsing, and this dude was directing the music, and he told my buddy like, I didn't like what you did for that solo. You should sit out for the performance tonight. Don't play because you might embarrass yourself and maybe me. Like, don't play anything. So, like, got in his mind, like, you suck. Don't play that part. And that pissed my friend off. He's like, what? I'm good, man. I play that really well. Like, fuck you. Sorry to swear again. Like, you can't say that. God. And it just got in his head and pissed him off. And it was a calculation. Like that dude knew it was going to piss him off because he like hit him in the ego, hit him where it hurts. Like you're not good enough to do that. That sounded like shit. Don't play that part. So when that moment came in the show where this guy was supposed to take his solo, but the big shot leader told him don't take that solo, The dude was like, fuck you, man, I'm doing it. And he went for it, and he like loved it, and he destroyed it, and he played it really well. And then afterwards, that leader came up to him and said, you played the shit out of that part, man. I knew you would, and like hugged him. It's like you had to give him a mind game to get the performance out of him that you wanted. You couldn't just have like psyched him up and like told him in a positive way. I've worked with like tech leaders like that who are just mind games all day long, manipulation, telling multiple people to go after the same problem, knowing there's going to be conflict because that's how we've solved like those personalities are everywhere. So
I'm sorry, I'm going to say it out. They suck. I have seen a manager, like he was a director of product. He made his own product managers in conflict, and they would fight with each other.
yeah.
And I was like, are you stupid? Why would you do that? I was a consultant. I was like, why would you do that? You have really smart product people. Let them work. I mean, one person is dealing with completely different, like finance. One person is dealing with completely another line. It was like an ERP software, So supply chain, one is dealing with the HRM module. So it was like it was not like they had conflicts, The manager was putting in the conflicts. And he said, oh yeah, then I get the best of all worlds. I'm like, you sure, bro?
At what cost? Yeah.
At the cost, all his product managers resigned.
Yeah, no one's going to want to work for you. They're going to say, man, this team sucks. Everyone's argumentative and no one's helpful. Like,
it was bad. But with that, I would like to say thank you so much for joining in today, Scott. This was probably a really cool conversation. I really enjoyed it. Is there something you would like to say as a final remark?
I enjoyed it too. Thank you for having me. Very fun. The time went fast.
True. You did more than an hour. I just realized. So thank you once again to our listeners. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of The Executives. If you found this episode valuable or you want to connect with Scott, his LinkedIn would be mentioned in the description section. And if you want to learn about the company Realeyes, the link would also be mentioned. Meanwhile, don't forget to subscribe and share it with your network. Until next time, this is Majid signing off.